little bit of tape for insurance. Good enough. Oh, that goes in. Here's the old mirror clip retainer. Well, that's not supposed to happen at all. So let's talk about the big L2 certification day, right? It ended up being really windy, like so windy we didn't fly when we got there. So we decided, okay, we're just going to take our exam at least. So blur all the paperwork here, but at least my exam's done, right? So I don't have to worry about that unless I don't get a successful flight within the next 363 days, right? So at least the exam's done. It made the whole trip worth it. Thank you, Anthony, for being the proctor of that. He's with the Lake Winnipesaukee High Power Rocketry Club and kind of proctored the exam for me and a buddy. Anyways, so the wind started dying down enough where we were like, okay, someone launched a minimum diameter like 38 millimeter rocket to like 2300 or something. And it wasn't bad. So we're like, yeah, we'll put my big rocket on the pad, see what happens. And well, you saw what happened. So we'll kind of explain what was going on there. It was so windy as the wind was coming at this, right? It kind of wraps around. And as it's speeding up to go around, it's creating low pressure zones here. Funnily enough, we were at the pad and my rocket was whistling. That's how windy it was. And I kind of looked at everyone. I'm like, you think that could set off an altimeter? And everyone was like, we've done a lot of this. Like, we've never had that happen. And then by the time we walked back to the table, of course, it blew up. So here you can see I have 4 evenly spaced vents. So in the old paperwork from ADEP, which did a lot of this research in the 90s, it says, use 3 or 4 evenly spaced vents. I guess Tommy, the guy that kind of invented all that stuff, has since told some people on Rocketry Forum, like, always use an odd number. So like 3 is ideal. And I think the egg timer paperwork even says like use 3. So that's supposed to prevent that kind of like false reading. What stinks is the low pressure zone that this created. It simulated, or it tricked my altimeter into thinking it was at 107 feet above ground level. There's a safety setting in there that's supposed to prevent this from happening. And it basically says, don't arm until I'm 100 feet above the ice or above grade. So, had that setting been 110 instead of 100, and the default used to be 200. It was really my fault. If I had the proper setting, it would have ignored all this erroneous data in the wind. But yeah, so my rocket thought it was at 107 feet, and then it thought it was coming back down, so it just blew all the charges right on the launch pad. So let's talk about some of the damage from that. See, we're here drying out. We're licking our wounds. Let's go over some of the damage, right? So everything's really wet, obviously, so that's not a big deal. The nice thing was the Nomex did its job. No parachutes are singed. No harnesses are burned up. Really, the worst thing that happened, and the only thing that prevented me really from trying to fly again that day, is you can see my nose cone. So the charge that blew was a backup charge, and that was real hot. That was 3.5 grams, and all I need is 3. So that extra, almost 20% or whatever that math comes out to, it caved that right in, and it's out of round, so it actually won't fit into my airframe. Aside from that, the fillet on my run cam cracked. I don't know if you can see it there. And then just some scrapes. I didn't have time to clear coat the paint anyways, so I wasn't super happy with the finish, and I figured, a lot of guys say like your rocket just dragged across the ice for like a mile in the wind. So I was expecting to repaint this for the summer anyways. So some dings from the rail and stuff. And then it got a little catawampus at the end and actually ripped out my bottom rail button. I'm going to try to heat the nose cone up and pull that out. I've got some CA in that. I'm going to try to retap that. And we should be ready to go again. So maybe we can do a couple more launches in the winter. If not, it'll be a springtime project. Yeah.